Morning, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the Global Solidarity Summit. Today, we are starting off with our keynote speaker, Mfikela John Samuel, who will be talking to us today about the intersections between arts and culture and solidarity. Mfikela is an African contemporary painter who resides in North Wales. He has travelled across Europe and Africa, and his paintings have been exhibited throughout the world in both public and private galleries. His main source of inspiration comes from his African cultural heritage, and in particular, the ways of life of his lineage, both past and present. And his art often captures simplicity and context, reflecting a true artistic insight. So I am going to hand over to you, Sam. Please, if you want to take the reins.
Okay. Faith, thank you very much for that generous introduction. And I am happy to be part of this discussion. So I'll be giving a keynote address or presentation. And as you said, my name's Mfikela James Samuel. And this is the occasion called Global Solidarity Forum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good day, depending on where you are participating or listening from in the world. I want to start by thanking the organizers of this Global Solidarity Summit, considering, expressing, and enhancing the indisputable and vital role that art and culture has played and continues to play in fostering solidarity and cooperation between the people of Wales and Africa, and also how art and culture helps in global solidarity in general. Artists and creatives, especially from Africa or African origin, as myself, are so happy to be part of these discussions that should provide an opportunity to promote the decolonization of African art and to ensure that artistic expressions and collaborations between Wales and Africa are built on the basis of equal partnership between the partners concerned. It is our greatest desire that African art, African culture, and African tradition should self-represent the African continent and the people of Africa. This is so because art is a way to tell one's story using one's own ideas, one's own language, one's own institutions, and one's own preferences. Unfortunately and sadly, it has been realized that art and culture, when seen and observed from the outside and by outsiders, can and has led to many misleading theories, conclusions, and confusions about people, especially the indigenous peoples of the world. African art and culture has also suffered this fate. Many outsiders, especially during colonial days, looked at African art and culture with filtered eyes, and they refused to see its true meaning. Before the development that led to modern art in the West, it was not uncommon to hear colonial voices describing African art as, for example, the art is primitive, the art is childlike or childish, the art is unproportionate, and some even call the art fetish. Art and culture can only embrace genuine solidarity between nations or people if both parties approach each other with an open mind, an eager hope, and a well-intentioned desire to learn new aspects from each other and from each other's culture. This means that there should be no room for prejudice, no prejudgment, and no tendency for one of the cultures to feel superior to the other when artistic or cultural exchange forums are in place. It should be acknowledged that any culture, whether in the West or in Africa, has unique identities and patterns that other cultures can learn from. Now, the initial question is, what is art and culture? And how would art and culture enhance genuine solidarity between Wales and Africa? And how can we decolonize our attitude towards how we appreciate the African art and culture? The culture of a people refers to the ideas, customs, social behavior, acceptable norms of their society. Culture also involves the artistic expressions and the manifestations of the intellectual prowess and achievements. On the other hand, art, or the arts of the people, is a subset of the culture. Art, on its own, is a way a community expresses their creativity or imagination at any given period in time. These artistic expressions can be in the form of visual art, for example, painting and sculpting. Expressions can also be in the form of literacy art, for example, writing poems and novels. And lastly, we can also have artistic expressions in the form of performance art like drama, film or cinema, dance, music, and even the art of the spoken word. Art and culture have been very instrumental in bringing individuals and communities together through ages. Indeed, for some time now, Wales and Africa have been sharing an interesting history of partnership and solidarity. For example, in 1985, Lesotho, a country in southern Africa, and Wales launched a cultural exchange and twinning initiative. It was done between the two countries. And in 2016, the Wales for Africa program was also launched with the desire of solidarity between Wales and the African countries. Some organizations have been helping to foster these solidarity and cooperation ventures between Africa and Wales. And I commend their progressive activities and actions. These organizations, for example, the Hope Cymru Africa and Sub-Saharan Advisory Panel, are doing so much and so good to improve the relationship, partnership, and solidarity between Wales and Africa. We observe them do this, and they bridge the gap between different cultures, or they even employ other methods of collaboration. I would say that I'm happy that I'm a witness of a project that I'm actually participating in. This project is promoted and managed by the Sub-Saharan Advisory Panel called the Mada Raja Project. This project is a very fruitful project, as we have observed. It has brought together a reasonable number of creatives, artists, art mentors, and art promoters from Wales and Africa. The Madaraja project seeks to look for ways whereby art and creativity could be decolonized, and whereby artists can be treated fairly and be allowed to express what they think they should express without being told what to do, irrespective of their own personal inspirations. We live in an era where the narratives, styles, and viewpoints of popular cultures continue to shape our experiences, our collective imaginations, and our approach to creativity. The Madaraja project realizes and upholds that African culture and African art, as any other culture and any other art, can make the best meaning, occupy the best place, show the best expression in time and space when it is authentic and unadulterated by any forceful or intimidating foreign influence or external philosophy. Many of us who are artists or creatives in the Madaraja project see it as a case study or a blueprint for the development and promotion of solidarity and collaboration and collaborative ventures between Wales and Africa. This is especially transmitted on the basis of cultural and artistic exchange, programs, and meetings. The Madaraja project involves about approximately 20 participants from across Wales, Cameroon, where myself I come from, the Gambia, Kenya, Tanzania, Nigeria, and many other creatives and art promoters with dual nationality and dual heritage backgrounds. All of the participants are creatives or artists from different fields of the art culture, or they generally have an interest in art, and they also promote international art events or desires. We have realized that the Madaraja project has provided a base and the resources where African and Welsh creatives and artists are exploring Afro-Welsh cultural connections. In this project, new ideas, creativity, skills, and new knowledge interflow between Wales and Africa without any of the cultures assuming a superior position. We are all treated equally, promoted equally, and supported equally. Each artist is allowed their integrity, their dignity, and their common source of inspiration, and we learn from each other. Moreover, financial assistance has been given to artists or creatives as to facilitate so that they do a project of their own choice. Indeed, the vision of the Madaraja project is to connect globally the exchange of art and culture via independent voices of Welsh and African creatives. We creatives and artists have understood that the initiators of the Madaraja project are well aware that cultural, political, or economic relations between the West and Africa, especially in the past, but still now, in some aspects, are often biased, such that any ideas coming from Europe are easily seen, understood, and accepted to be better and more superior than those of their African counterparts, even before they prove to be or not to be important or useful as such. This is a colonial mentality that was crafted on the grounds and desire that one culture could dominate another, and not on a just and not grounded on a just, genuine solidarity or cooperation between these cultures. It's a fact. History and time have proven that alliances, treaties, contracts, commitments, cooperations that are not based on a genuine and mutual respect for each other and for the partners concerned never stand the test of time, as it is in the nature of men and women to always question why things are the way they are and why not otherwise. As a contemporary visual artist from Africa living in North Wales, now for close to a decade, I'm talking now about myself. A lot has happened that has changed in how the people of North Wales in particular and Wales in general have been seeing my art and have been perceiving my art and the story my art hopes to tell. This is not a singular story. It's a story of many other artists that leave from Africa and come to the West. Or it's a similar story when expatriates leave the West and go to Africa. I've always resisted voices and suggestions that aim at influencing how an artist should express himself or herself, no matter the form of their art practice. I would like to share this with you, an experience that I will never forget. Sometime in 2017, I was doing an exhibition in North Wales. I had a lot of people who came to see what an African artist was showing in the Bago Art Initiative Gallery. Yeah, many of them did love the work I was doing, but a few of them were skeptical because my work was not associated to what they knew before, and they did not understand the true meaning of art, as I later realized. One of them, a well-wishing and nice gentleman, collared me and said this, in quotes: "My dear friend, I understand you want to make a living off paintings, but I'm afraid these are not the sort of art that the people in Wales may like." He went further to say that, "I suggest you can go and look for a painting of a famous artist called Coffin Williams. You may want to copy his style or even repeat some of his paintings so that the community can actually identify with you." The said gentleman meant well, but unfortunately, he knew much that wasn't so. Him, like many other individuals, don't realize the essence of art and other forms of creative expressions. They don't understand that visual art, like the literacy art or the art of the spoken word, is a way to tell one's story, to express one's creativity, to narrate one's imagination, and to portray desires and wishes. No two artists, even from the same culture, can express the same and in the same way. And sometimes the dilemma is that some artists who are supposed to be original struggle to die copies. There is no point for me in copying anyone when I have an authentic, unique, and special story to tell the world in my own art. I mean the African art story. I'm happy to see that things have changed. Time changes many things. Persistent decency changes many things. With time, the average person around North Wales who has some interest in art have developed some interest for my kind of art. Some of them who were skeptical at the beginning are my major promoters today. And some of them have realized that being here as a contemporary painter from Africa living in North Wales, they have the opportunity to experience Africa, to feel Africa, and to even be in Africa through my works of art. For an artist has the ability and the capabilities of representing time and space wherever and whenever he wants to. Sometimes we even distort meaning without reducing. Sometimes we even distort reality without reducing meaning or compromising value. I'm so happy today that I didn't follow anyone's reflections and I didn't copy anyone's artistic expressions. And I thank God for that. We artists are therefore very encouraged by the Madaraja project, which has been crafted and is being executed, making sure that the project from first principles is a repellent to any remnants or leftovers of any philosophy or baseless belief that Western artistic or cultural ideas, views are superior. In this, our project, we exchange ventures between Wales and Africa, and this is done within the realms of mutual respect for every artist, whether you are from Wales or you are from Africa. In summary, the Madaraja project aims to decolonize art and culture. It also helps to promote equality as we work together. Furthermore, all voices are being heard while creative and artistic and artists involved and the artists involved are not told what to express or how to express as they go along through the project. In the Madaraja project, we see how direct bridges are being built between languages, cultures, and creatives, while the potential of visual, poetic, creative tools, dance, and gestures are used to convey narratives, emotions, memories, and cultures. We have also observed that the project, online or real life, artistic activities are done and developed in a very cooperative way, and everyone listens to everyone. We also receive creative advice and mentoring so that we can be able to explore new collaborations, expressions, new ways of working, new experimental work, and most importantly, we can learn from each other. Art and culture are therefore very, very important in solidifying solidarity between nations of the world. And it is wonderful that we consider this to be one of the building blocks for solidarity between Wales and Africa. And going further to make sure that these connections and these cooperations should be decolonized so that all the partners feel that they are equal, so that all the partners have confidence in what they can say and in what they can contribute. It's a very wonderful step. For this will help the average artist to freely unleash their hidden potentials and their expressions and their imaginations. And this will lead to a total net increase in human development and artistic exploitations that we will realize in our time, and they'll be there for all times. May we continue to foster a genuine and just global cooperation and solidarity between nations and peoples of the world in general, and Wales and Africa in particular. As artists and creatives, we pledge to do our own part, our own best, our own bit, so that we stay and work together as equal partners in progress and development. May God bless us all. Thank you once more, the initiators of this endeavor and of this summit. This is where I end my presentation.
Thank you so much for that really inspiring talk, Sam. That was really wonderful to hear just how you in your work are fostering solidarity between Wales and Africa, and how the wider projects of the Madaraja project actually shows us a case study of how arts and of how culture can foster solidarity. So thank you. Thank you so much for that. I saw loads of applause at the end with the little emojis. Thank you on behalf of everybody. So now we are just going to open up the floor to any questions from the audience. I'm just going to open this up. Please feel free to use the question and answer function. It should be on the right-hand side of your screens. We have time now, actually. We are running ahead of schedule, which is fantastic. So I'm just going to give that a moment. I'm also going to put a link to, I think there was a link that I put actually, yep, in case anybody wants to see more of Sam's work. There has been a link to both his Instagram and his website, as well as a link to the Madaraja project. So please feel free to look at his work and follow him and support him alongside the other artists in Wales and in Africa that are working together on this project. I'm just going to check the Q&A function. I'm not seeing anything. So that means we will likely maybe have some extra time between the next session. Right. Okay, so I want to thank Sam once again for this. I have been told that there are questions, but I am not seeing them. Thank you, poor Wi-Fi. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so question for you, Sam, is would you encourage a young person in Wales to go to art school? It's very expensive and so risky for young people with little family money behind them, especially if from a diaspora community. What advice would you give to youngsters?
Wow. Yeah, quite a very tricky question. My answer is yes. If a young person has that passion for art and creativity and thinks he or she needs direction, why not encourage that person to actually realize his or her dreams? The problem is that most of us sometimes we think that to make a living, you just have to follow through the other conventional ways of education. For example, you want to be a lawyer, a teacher, a doctor. Those are wonderful. Those are good things. But the country and community also needs people who are trained to imagine and to think and also to create. The future of everything and new things in the future will depend more on the fact that some people can see more than what appears on top, or they can refuse to conform with the desire to reform. And that is the place of an artist in every society. A young child who thinks that something craves within him to make him to become an artist, indeed, in essence, is a gift for his community, and that should be accepted and supported and well directed, because in him lies the new beginnings where we can be tomorrow. A lot of initiatives have been paralyzed because parents did not see what their own children saw, because parents had in their own minds what a happy life would be like for their own children. But it takes the audacity of a parent to be able to have a genuine conversation with their children and to really see what the children want to be and help the children help themselves. And art happens to be one of those things that can genuinely make a human being happy. Being able to express yourself in the form of art is more than any financial reward. And being able to earn money from that is like a bonus again. Especially in this country, the artists here or the young ones can really be very lucky because you have a lot of support also from your governments and from many organizations. Taking that story back to Africa, where I come from a place whereby people still struggle with the basics of life. For example, food, shelter, and clothing, which means that nobody would decide to starve because they want to buy a piece of art from anybody. Nobody will be that funny not to pay his child's tuition fee because he wants to buy a piece of art from anybody. But people like I, myself, and some other artists still prevailed and made our life or are making a living out of art. What I mean is that the spirit that pushes the painter will take him anywhere in the world and to achieve anything, irrespective of the financial and material limitations they find. So my answer is yes. I will encourage the parent to support a young child who wants to be an artist in any way, as they support them in other things. Thank you. I hope I answered the question.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, that's very true that, people can make it no matter what. And that reward that you mentioned, that really resonates with me as a lover of art. There's no other feeling than when you go and you see your favorite painter, even your
Right.
piece of music, and it just, inspires something in you. So I've been sent some more questions. We have another question here that says, please, could you say more about how you feel art should be decolonized?
Okay. Wow. Um, I think that for a long time, African artists sometimes they have been told what to do. I was almost a victim. They've been told what to do, or people approach African art expecting something else. It's not only African art. There are many outsiders that when they have an opportunity to go to Africa or to meet Africans, they come already with a theory in their minds which they struggle to justify. They don't come with open minds to see a new civilization, a society which they can learn from, but they have something in their minds which they want to justify already, and that takes away the meaning of the meeting. I think that African artists should also be educated to have confidence in what they do and to believe that what is a masterpiece is what is unique from you. It's not what you copy from the colonial masters. So art can be decolonized by supporting creativity that is original from the artists themselves so that they don't feel that if they don't paint, like, for example, Michelangelo, Van Gogh, Matisse, or Da Vinci, then their art is not being respected or will not be respected in the world. Those painters painted from their own cultures. They were just lucky that they were documented early enough. African artists who are doing art inspired by their own cultures may start their own documentation today, and many years after now, their works will be authentic. Of what essence will it give you, the artist, if you spend your life struggling to be like someone else, when deep inside you lies an astonishing amount of inspiration, experiences, and knowledge which you can also express and expose in any form possible? Yeah. So I think the process of decolonizing art lies both in the outsider and the insider, but more even in the insider. Because if the African artists didn't comply with all these corrections, and in the way people have chosen to look at them, they will not try as much as they can to be somebody else, which is totally impossible. Everything is beautiful from the basics. And the owners of whatever creative venture or anything should be the ones to promote and propagate themselves very well and stand confidently around their original works. Like what I did with my own art when I came to North Wales. I stood strongly around it, showed it to the world. It wasn't respected at the beginning, but at some point, there was a breakthrough. I'm a fairly successful artist now, but I still paint the African story and tell the African story in my visual works of art. Well, I think that gave a small answer to that question, I hope.
Thank you for that. It is so important to support artists and to allow them to show that, that whatever it is that makes them unique and whatever it is that only they can bring. So I think that's a very important point that you've raised. And we've got some more questions. I'm just going to look down. If you see me looking down, I'm just looking at questions.
It's okay, yeah.
So another question we have had is how do you feel about the concept of fusion art or music, whereby, for example, a Lesotho musician or artist works with a Welsh African artist or musician? Would this help or solidarity or dilute indigenous culture?
Wow. I think both of the two will happen, but we now look at the relative advantages and disadvantages. The fact that art and artists interfere with one another in different places doesn't leave them the same, like any human experience. Anything that comes in contact with the five senses of a human being makes the person a bit different. But the essence and the roots of the person will not totally change because of these exposures. I'm African because Africa is born in me, not only because I was born in Africa. I can try as much as I can to be someone else, but at some point, the very essence of my Africanness will always show up, whether I like it or not. I think that collaboration between artists from different cultures and different places is very important and gives more advantages than the disadvantages when you may lose some aspects of your culture because you want now to copy and be exactly like the other person. I also think that the collaboration between these cultures does not really mean that the cultures are diluted. It means that they should be complemented to fit in. Nobody has it all. So there is nothing wrong with a Welsh painter having a wonderful pitch for music that will complement. Sorry, there is nothing wrong with a Welsh musician that have a wonderful pitch for music that will complement the tones and rhythms of a pygmy in the Congo, or an indigenous person in Australia, or anybody from any corners of the earth. They complement each other. In this case, we are looking at variety and how variety can come together to make the world more colorful. But the way humanity evolves, there is something we can never help to run away from, which is the fusion you talked about. There will be a time in the future, it could be 1,000 years from now, 2,000 years from now, where the human interferences will be so much that the cultures will fuse. It is not within our power to stop that or to make it happen early. But I'll answer that collaboration is important between artists. It encourages artists to work together. It makes them to gain new energy from other people. You see how people do the same thing in different ways, and you see how people do different things in the same ways, and you help yourself to even imagine more. When you meet artists, they help you to really see the limitlessness of man's ability, the infinite potentials of the human spirit. You see how far and wild some people would think. If I were not exposed to some artists in my life, I would not be what I am today or who I am today. Some of them were not from my country. I didn't copy their ways of painting, but I was happy with their audacity to go wild and to see what more than what appears on top, to imagine the future they wanted to see and to start creating it on canvas. So encountering different artists is a very wonderful thing. It will lead to collaboration, yes. But eventually in the future, not only art, but everything will be fused together. But that is not yet happening soon. That's how I see it. That's my own opinion.
Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful answer. I think yes, definitely. It is really great to see how different artists in their respective fields can complement each other, like you said, and do, the same things in their own way. I can see another question, which says, how does art bring about peace and social inclusion? So maybe your own personal take on how art is able to, foster peace and social inclusion.
Um, all right. I'll answer this question based more on the fact that I'm a visual artist. And I would like to explain a bit about the power of art. As a visual artist, I've realized that you can send words across just with colors and with what you paint without saying anything. And you would see reaction in different places. And people are generally very curious. Works of art tell a story. And when you see the story, you have seen the story. Whether you like it or not, it's already in you. Just working together with artists from different places and different cultures create a common denominator. And that is the basis for peace. The fact that two individuals can agree to collaborate and cooperate and see a common denominator where to get along is already the basis for peace. Because people hate each other or they fight each other, sometimes just because they don't know each other. Getting close to somebody through the medium of art or through another medium enables you to know the person and see the humanity in that person. Staying behind because you don't have the opportunity to encounter people will help you to build theories about them and thoughts about them, which are not necessarily the truth. I read a statement from Abraham Lincoln. He said that, I don't like that man very much. I must try to know him. I don't like that guy very much. I must try to know him. Which means hate, which is one of the bases for war, is because of ignorance. So artistic collaborations bring people together. And artists can also paint peace. They can paint the solid. I mean, I've seen icons around the world preaching peace. Musicians have sung about peace, encourage people to be peaceful and to be together. I heard Bob Marley sing Africa Unite. I heard him sing One Love. I heard Michael Jackson sing Heal the World. We've heard all of these wonderful and fantastic musicians through the ages. Books have been written. Poetry is there to justify that art can actually bring solidarity between people and can really institute and initiate peace. But as a visual painter, I know that just the basis of collaboration with different painters or different artists will make me to know different cultures so that there is no unnecessary hatred based on ignorance that may eventually lead to chaos. Wars have been fought in history which, if people understood each other well, if they came together pretty much, those wars would not have been fought. They were based on ignorance, on the fact that there was no common denominator to bridge the gaps between the warring powers or the warring groups. So if art can be used as one of the means for bridging and connecting between people, then hopefully and truthfully, art can be a source or a reason for peace.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you
that's
for
my
that.
own view. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for telling us and talking to us about just how art brings about peace and how it can bring about social inclusion. I think we have answered all the questions. I'm just going to double check, but yeah, I think we are done for this Q&A segment. Thank you so much again, Samuel, for coming and speaking to us on
You're
arts and
welcome.
culture and solidarity. I know that many of us appreciated that and maybe even hadn't really thought about arts and culture and solidarity. So thank you for exploring that with us.
Thank you. You're welcome.
So we are going to be having a break now before the next session, which starts at 10:30. So please feel free to get a coffee, tea. You don't need to do anything. If you were here yesterday, you already know how it works. And for those of us who weren't, you can just leave this tab open. The session will end. And when the next session begins, it will automatically appear on your screen. So you don't need to worry about logging in, logging out, or anything like that. And that will begin at 10:30. It will be on food, connection and culture, and it will be a talk from Carol Adams. So please do stick around, and we will see you for the next session. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.